Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is me, Xtengrim. I hope y'all are doing great. Thank y'all for coming in to another episode of the Shadow Nexus Mixtape. And here today on this episode, we're going to be talking about Pokemon, like we said on the last episode. And our special guest today is an amazing Pokemon content creator and Pokemon fanatic himself, ST00BEN. I'll let him introduce a little bit more about himself. ST00BEN?
Hi everyone, my name is ST00BEN. I am a competitive Pokemon content creator as well as a variety streamer. Not only though with Pokemon, I play a lot of card games. Like the last few months, I've been very addicted to a lot of different games. But right now I am gung-ho with the new Temporal Forces set that's dropping like with pre-releases this weekend as we're recording and coming out in a few weeks with rotation. I'm all in right now.
Pokemon is a crazy aspect, man. It's been around for many years. It hit its 25-year anniversary just this last year of being around, which brought out amazing content, I feel, and an amazing rush into the Pokemon TCG aspect, video game aspect, more than it's seen in a good while, I feel. I feel a lot of the new things that they came out with and everything added so much more draw to more younger crowds and the older crowds to say, hey, I want to continue doing this and not just collect. I want to continue to play, but then also continuing to bring that young crowd in as Pokemon is really designed for, right? Because that's what it is. It's designed for children, around the age of probably 13 and under. But we still, as adults ourselves, love to have it. And, thinking about that, going into our first topic of today's episode is going to be, where did we all start? So where did you start with Pokemon?
Man, okay, so I played the trading card game before I played the video games, and I'm talking like Red and Blue and base set. I wasn't the most fortunate child in terms of like being able to, hey, mommy, daddy, I want this, kind of, please give me things. But I got into the trading card game first. And then months later, my birthday came around and then I got a Game Boy and I got Pokemon Blue. No, I lied. I wanted Pokemon Blue. I got Pokemon Red, but I still picked Squirtle as my starter. And a lot of people find that like kind of evil. Like, why would you do that? It's like, well, Blue was sold out. My mom bought me Red. It just the way it unfolded or whatever. But the trading card game, and I guess technically you can count the anime as like, that was the first thing that everyone was really exposed to. It came out before the video games, before the trading card game, and before any merchandise, as like a way to like get people to, I guess, grow attached to it, buy into it, and it's like a advertising device, I guess you could call it that. But I started with the base set starter decks and the 2-player starter set and some booster packs, and I went all in, and I started going to like Pokemon League at a place called Zany Brainy, Toys R Us. We had Books A Million, Barnes and Noble. I went like 3 or 4 days a week because they were all very close by where we lived, where I grew up for a little bit, and it was just an awesome experience to be able to like trade cards, learn how to play, and eventually like I took down some cool little tournaments as a kid too.
I think I'm pretty much the same, obviously. We all, same thing, anime. I actually started off with games before I started off with the cards. But I didn't start with them until Pokemon Silver.
Okay.
For sure.
A couple years. Yep.
Yeah, I don't remember playing Red and Blue. I know at one point I did, but I don't remember I don't recall getting them at first. I do recall getting Pokemon Silver and Heart Gold. I got Pokemon Silver. My brother got Gold. We got the little like pouches from Nintendo that had Lugia and Ho-Oh on it, and like would hold your little Game Boy Color in there and be like, oh, you're all badass and shit. It was the coolest thing in the world, for sure. I never learned how to play the TCG until until a few years ago, to be honest, when I really kind of started getting back into Pokemon, and joining the community, yours, Sunny's, Punka Amy's, and everybody's in that set of the community. I started going and learning a little bit more on how to play, for sure. But I never knew how to play at first. We just kind of collected the cards. I mean, we were young, and me and my brother were just like, oh, hey, look, and my Pokemon beats yours because it does a bigger attack. And didn't know, like, oh, you got to attach energies or things like that. We didn't care.
That's a pretty common thing, actually, from what I've heard from a lot of people over the years. Is like they're into playing now, but they only collected and traded as a kid. And then, like, you know, evolutions in like 2016 brought them into the game, or 20th anniversary stuff, or 25th anniversary stuff. A lot of people dived in because of content creators and the pandemic and the craziness of like the market during that point in time too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know I wasn't an adamant of like going out of my way to get cards or anything like that. I saw this rush, and you know, I unfortunately, I'm gonna be honest, I jumped on this bandwagon with everyone else. I was like, hey, I gotta go get these shiny fates, I gotta go get these hidden fates, EBTs. Let's open all these things you know, live. Let's see what we get and see if we can get these awesome pulls that never fucking happen, but you know. It is what it is. I mean, I got some good cards over the years and over the things I pulled, but definitely without a doubt, I've spent more than what I pulled worth of value in most cases. But yeah, I mean, I love Pokemon Silver. I loved the aspect that it came with it. I loved watching the anime as a kid. Honestly, I think it was, I stopped kind of following Pokemon as far as the anime. I think right around when they got into the Kalos region. I feel like I kind of lost touch with the anime and the show at that point. I still ended up watching the episodes at points, but I don't think I really knew what was going on.
Yeah, there was a point in time where I was very disconnected from the franchise in terms of the card game, the video game, and any media. I want to say like during my teenage years, like quite a little bit after like Ruby Sapphire, not quite like past the point of like Emerald and stuff yet, but like Diamond and Pearl. I really don't have much of an attachment to that generation whatsoever. What got it back into me randomly is at the time I played Yu-Gi-Oh very competitively in my teenage years and like early 20s and whatnot. But what got me back involved was my little brother got a DS Lite for his birthday or Christmas one year, and it was like a bundle pack that came with Pokemon Pearl, and he couldn't like fully read yet. And I was like, hey mom, I know you got this for Matt, but like he can't read yet. Can I play the Pokemon game so I don't have to buy it? And like I just fell in love all over again later on down the line. They got him a DS to play like the Lego games and Scribblenauts and stuff like that, and just happened to coincidentally come with Pokemon Pearl. So
nice. Yeah, I bought every single generation. I've gotten every single Pokemon game that's come out, but I feel like there was just a point where I just started getting so detached from the storyline that I just started playing just to say I played it more than to care about the game itself, you know?
I feel that way now more about the more recent games. They've been a little bit lacking, and that's a whole different kind of like deep dive. I know you have your itinerary set up, but we can save that for later.
Yeah, no, we'll get into that because I would definitely want to hear your opinions on some of the new games that are coming out. I definitely have my own, but we're gonna definitely get into that. But I mean, we talked about it. You know, obviously we lost connection of generations and things like that. So I guess, you know, coming into this next, what is your favorite generation?
So that's hard. The 34-year-old in me says Gen 2. I guess the Renaissance era would say Gen 5.
Okay.
But also I like Gen 6 as well.
Okay. So I agree with Gen 2.
If I had to ultimately pick one over the other, in terms of nostalgia and just everything, I would say just Gen 2 Johto. But Heart Gold Soul Silver is a really good game. I know that's technically like a Gen 4 late release remake kind of thing. But also like Black and White and Black 2, White 2 were like I think the last great like traditional Pokemon games.
Okay. Okay. So, so you base your opinion mostly on the video games itself of your favorite generation. Is that correct?
Yes and no.
Okay.
In terms of cards, I would say I'm stronger involved with Gen 5 is when I got back into playing like competitively.
Okay.
On like becoming a Pokemon professor and starting to run leagues and so on and so forth. But in terms of the video games, it's definitely Gen 2. So TCG Gen 5, VG Gen 2.
Okay. So, as just the Pokemon, just the Pokemon, not
Just the Pokemon
just the Pokemon. Gen 2.
Gen 2. Okay. You already know what the answer to this is, but my absolute favorite Pokemon is Ampharos.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that whole sheep line and everything. And I, as a kid, like I really loved the storyline about like, the Olivine City Lighthouse and like the sick Ampharos and everything. And like, I don't know, the little Mareep running around and everything. I just, I got. Yeah. That's all I can say. I got on that.
That's fair.
They've been my favorites ever since. I would also say I like Umbreon is one of my favorites, but a lot of people love Umbreon. I think now that more people like Umbreon, I've started to like Jolteon a little bit more. It's like a rebel. So
the pop figure. The fucking.
I almost bought one today. But the box was smashed.
I had to have. I opened all mine, so I didn't give a fuck. I just don't. But
I have a couple, but I can't not have a good box.
Yeah.
To stash away or whatever.
Well, it was more because I had to, and I even have the Jolteon one.
The Jolteon too. Let's go.
I have all the evolutions. I was waiting for Umbreon to come out so I can finally get the current evolution. I don't know if we're ever going to get another evolution. I would hope we do, honestly, at some point, time or another. I would love to see, a dragon evolution, maybe even a rock evolution, like or a ground and things like that. I would love to see those just to see it, because I feel like the biggest thing, even with like Eevee, was like they're so versatile. You can have an entire set of Eevees and then evolve each of them to different sets in order to better suit a situation. And I definitely feel like that's what brings it together. And it was always cool that Eevee was like one of, other than Pikachu, was that Pokemon that just kind of traveled from generation to generation. It's just like you could catch an Eevee in almost every single game, I think, except for maybe a couple of them that you weren't able to actually have an Eevee because they didn't have an evolution, and they kind of did away with that at that point. But no, I mean, I agree with you. Gen 2 game wise, again, that goes back to me as well. Silver was my first Pokemon game. I love Soul Silver. I even still have the little Pokemon Pokewalker thing. Yep. It's dead. I got to put the battery in. I got to see what Pokemon I left in there.
The battery died. It's not in there anymore. Rest in peace to that Pokemon.
Okay, that's fine. I don't think it was. It was maybe a Mew.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's gone.
But as far as like the trading card game goes, I like the Gen 1 cards that come out. I love bringing out Mewtwo again. My favorite is Mewtwo himself, but have my low pop figure for that too.
Oh, no, I like you can't see it like very well on the camera, but like the shelf up above the Kirby behind me, there's a Mewtwo Funko Pop, a Mewtwo model kit, and the Giovanni Mewtwo Nendoroid, and a Mewtwo Sitting Cutie all on the shelf. And then I have the Jumbo Mewtwo Funko as well. So yeah, no, I also enjoy Mewtwo. The first movie and all that nostalgia was a big part of everybody. And like the line where he's just like, the circumstances of one's birth, so on and so forth. I don't want to, everyone knows that line. Yeah. It was very impactful for a lot of people.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it's crazy though to think.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. It's crazy to think of that one quote, on how many different perceptions come out of that quote though. Both good and bad and whatever the thing, or they use that quote to, it hits home with a lot more people for a lot of different reasons, and I think that's what made that quote so powerful from a Pokemon in general, right?
The best part of it though is the quote is so good that people that don't know it's from Pokemon think it's from like Martin Luther King or Nelson Mandela or something like Gandhi or whatever.
Yeah.
And people think that quote came from like a very high, well-respected member of society and like in history and everything, and be like, oh yeah, that was definitely that guy. No, sorry, bro, it was Mewtwo. You're incorrect.
It was a Pokemon.
Yeah,
He was created. That's pretty much the extent of it.
Came out of a test tube.
So I mean, yeah, that I love the Gen 1 cards because I love to see them come back, and I think they'll always come back. They've remade them so many times already as it is. They've amped them up. They've redone them. I think sometimes they get the short end of a stick, to be honest, in some of the generation packs. But I think overall they always try to make them relevant in some way or another. I feel in each time they're reprinted. So as far as the cards go, yeah. And as far as the Pokemon, just in general, honestly, I feel like just Gen 1 for me. Like I love every Pokemon from Gen 1. I think a lot of and it just goes back to nostalgia.
Even Kakuna.
Okay, maybe not Kakuna. Kakuna was the exception to the rule. I love Beedrill though. I love Beedrill.
Even Tauros.
Yes, actually, Tauros. So Tauros has a special place in my heart, and that was mostly because of my father. So Tauros was probably the only Pokemon that I believe my dad actually enjoyed, and liked the way it looked. It was so Tauros, though. I feel the newest Tauros looks so much cooler in the Paldea set.
Yep.
Without a doubt, the original Tauros holds a place in my heart from all that as well. So,
they say
yes.
that, you know, and by they I mean me. I feel like somebody loves some Pokemon, no matter what. Like every Pokemon is somebody's favorite. Like there's somebody out there like. Is like, I work at a card shop, and you know that, but the people listening don't. I work at a card shop, and people come in, hey, do you have any like Porygon 2 cards? And I'm like, no. Or you know, someone will be like, oh, dude, my favorite is Ariados, or why don't you have an Ariados plushie, or like why don't you have this Pokemon in stock? Well, I mean, you know, I wonder why, but not to knock anybody or whatever, but you know, everyone finds ways to get attached to certain Pokemon. I'm guilty of it. Hell, man. Even sometimes, like I'll play like a deck in the trading card game just because I like the mechanics of that deck, or it's like matchup spread or whatever, and I end up growing to love the damn Pokemon for whatever it is. Like,
Yeah.
Oranguru. I hated Oranguru the first time I saw it.
Oh god.
It was just a big dumb gorilla with a fan, and then like every time they print an Oranguru card, it's the most broken damn thing there is. And like now I like Big Monkey now.
Yeah. No, there are a lot of questionable Pokemon and styles for it. I would love to meet someone and understand someone and have them really explain why Rubbish and what's its evolved form?
Trubbish and Garbodor?
Those ones. How I would love to know someone that actually loves those Pokemon.
Oh, a lot of people do. I like them. And that's because of the trading card game. Every time, not in the most recent history, but between like the Black and White era and X and Y era and like Sun and Moon with the cards, those Garbodor cards, disgustingly good.
Yeah.
There's the first Garbodor had an ability called Garbatox, and if it had a Pokemon Toll card attached to it, no other Pokemon in play had abilities. That card was so good, they made that same Pokemon again with the same ability and different attacks and stuff. So like it wasn't like a 1-for-1 reprint where you couldn't just play the same copy, you had to get the new one, but it was basically the same dang thing. It was so good, and then eventually it got one where in the Sun and Moon era, and it overlapped with like legality windows to where the Garbatoxin and the one from Sun and Moon were illegal together, where you could turn off abilities, or you can evolve it into a Pokemon that does more damage for every item in your opponent's discard pile.
Okay. Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah.
So the off Pokemon, do you feel that sometimes they get a better trading card in order to bring a little more what's it, attachment to a Pokemon that maybe the company feels like it's not there for them?
Well, I don't know for sure because the people that make the cards aren't the people that make the games. It's two different divisions. Um, most people don't know it, but Pokemon is broken up as one company, the Pokemon Company. And then that Pokemon Company has subsidiaries. There's the Pokemon Company International that oversees things and distribution and trading card stuff in the western part of the world and a little bit of Asia, but not all of it, just like a couple small countries. And then the Pokemon Company itself is made up of Nintendo, Game Freak, and Creatures Inc. And Creatures Inc. specifically is the company who handles the design of the trading card game, soliciting artists for art, game design, all that kind of stuff. Nintendo just is a partner in the Pokemon Company as like a publisher for the video games and distribution and such. And then Game Freak is the company who makes the Pokemon characters themselves and develops the games, the mainline games. And of course, you have like other companies like DNA who make Pokemon Masters, and they're making the new trading card game Pocket app. And you've got who? Man, there was another one. There's a few others like smaller companies that they've like constantly contracted over time to make other games.
Well, I mean, what, Niantic, the one that does Pokemon Go?
Niantic is a separate company, but yeah, they've been contracted, to do Pokemon Go. I can't think of any other ones specifically off the top of my head. I guess Unite. I think it's technically Tencent that owns them, and that's like a mega Chinese corporation because they also, I think, like there's like League of Legends stuff I think attached to it, which explains like the whole MOBA design and whatnot. So
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I could be a little bit wrong on that one.
That's fair. I mean, we don't claim to be masters, right? Or all knowing. You are a professor though, so I mean,
That's a different story.
That's a different thing. So going into that, the Pokemon Professor and all that with Pokemon TCG. So obviously you've played competitively, you've played a lot of different other TCGs. As a competitive player, where do you feel is the most difficult thing to really try to go into Pokemon TCG and not lose the love for the game and making it just a competition?
So that's a really tough question to give a truthful answer because it's different for everybody.
Okay.
I find fun in not always sweating and playing like the craziest deck, but like cooking something up with the bros in Discord and trying to figure out like what the counter play is sometimes, or like the counter to the counter. Also though, for like local play, like I'll sleeve up like Torterra and have an absolute blast and still raffle stomp some of the local players. I built, and I profiled it on my YouTube channel. I built like a Garchomp deck last format, and it's not a very good meta deck, but I sat down a Pokemon League on a Tuesday night and I whooped some Charizard ass. So it all comes down to like how you find fun, like in that regard. In terms of like competitive burnout, I mean, that's a big thing for just everything, not just Pokemon in general. People now see the massive prize pool for regionals and internationals and worlds for Pokemon, and like that's their main driving factor to get into it, and why they want to play and why they want to, I guess, get good.
Yeah. I think I've seen it a couple times on Twitter now and everything like that. We have a very controversial opinion about like people playing in regionals and things like that. Like at the point where those people, there's no way they're going to get enough points to go into worlds and things like that. Those are the kind of questions that make me wonder, like, how much have we really lost when it comes to the point of the game? I understand it's a competition, I get that, but it's ultimately meant to have fun. Like, that's what it's designed for, right?
So I will say that a lot of the accounts on social media that make those takes, they are engagement farming now that you can monetize on Twitter or X.
Okay.
Keep that in mind. A lot of notable players or I guess pro or top players will intentionally say things to stir the pot to get conversation started as they get more interactions and likes and reposts and more replies to generate revenue. I don't want to like call out any specific individuals, but there is one very specific individual who goes to every single event and does not do well at all, but yet shills out thousands of dollars to travel to Costa Rica, Europe, Australia, so on and so forth, just for the engagement they're farming from social media to pay for that revenue and everything like that. There's a lot of questionable takes that people put out there, but most of it is very deceiving.
Okay. I could see that. I didn't social media, I'm good at it. I'm not that old. I'm not that I do mingle with social media. As far as monetizing on most social media, it's outside of Twitch. I don't I don't really look into it because I don't ever expect to be, high end in anything like that. I'm a very slow growing community person. Myself, we're coming close to the 500 mark as of right now on Twitch. We just shot over 100, I believe, on Twitter. We just shot over 100 on TikTok recently, and on YouTube we just hit 50 subscribers on as of the moment of this recording. We're a slow growing community, so I don't look at monetizing anything. So a lot of the time, so when I see people make those posts, and it does, I get it. We all got to have our hustle, right? We all got to have our way to make our money and do our thing. I just feel like sometimes when we involve Pokemon and games that are cherished and loved and things like that, and we're trying to use that to our advantage in those things, I think it's just sad. Honestly, it's just really sad.
Yeah, and I mean, not everyone who is making those posts is monetization farming, or trying to get those extra clicks and views. Some people just have shitty opinions, and unfortunately, that's the power of the internet. Is you are allowed to have an opinion, whether it sucks or it's good, and you can put it out there and have a platform, even if you do or do not deserve it. I think people that well, I guess you could call it like grinching or whatever. Like, let people have fun, let them enjoy what they want to do. If people want to pay $70 to enter a regional and plus whatever expenses for travel just to experience it and see what else is going on and play the game that they like, let them. Who cares? The capacities for these events now has increased drastically. And if you would have told me 5-6 years ago that there's going to be like 2,900 people at Orlando regionals this year, then I would have been like, you're full of shit. A regional prior to pandemic was lucky to have 300, 400 players. They weren't the biggest things ever. And it's weird, as big as Pokemon is and as big as the TCGs in general, you have to think that you got to assume at least 85% of people that buy Pokemon cards are either trying to flip them or collect them. The small percent is the people that play the game. It's a growing minority, but it's still a minority in people who purchase and consume Pokemon TCG.
I mean, and I agree with you. I do feel that. And kind of going into that though, as well, the big flip in the pandemic where Pokemon basically got this massive amount of people interested in collecting the cards, breaking them, opening them, doing all that. When you saw it, where did you feel that you were going to be in it? How did you feel like you were going to get involved into all the madness that came out of that, as a Pokemon lover and person there?
I already experienced the first peak of madness during the release of Pokemon Go, and subsequently at the same time, XY Evolutions, the base set reprint set, basically happened in a massive wave. Then, as we led into Sun and Moon coming out and so on and so forth, there was a lot of people that got into it, but the TCG didn't like go through the crazy like shortages and scalping and mega boom. It did a little bit, but not like it did during the pandemic. What sucked the most is how play died during the pandemic. And I get it, you know, virus spreading, safety, they don't want groups of people playing, so on and so forth. But what it did to like hurt it at the beginning was super rough. Most stores were attempting to do whatever they could to move product that they already paid for months in advance. Little game shops, man, you're ordering your product, you know, sometimes 2, 3, 4 months out. If you sell Bandai card games at your store, you're ordering your product 6 months in advance. And a lot can happen within 6 months.
Oh, yeah.
You're either stuck with a bunch of shit that won't sell, or you have not enough because, wow, what happened? Why is this so popular? One Piece. So, you know, it's hard. What ultimately got me into content like the way it is now for me, because if you go back, like I have old videos. My YouTube channel was created in 2006.
Yep.
I made Yu-Gi-Oh content under a different name. Eventually changed. It's still the same channel, but the name doesn't exist. If you somehow know the name and you find it, it just redirects you to the same place anyways, under ST00BEN.
Fair enough.
And I had a little taste of like, you know, physical card game stuff in the mid 2000s with like Yu-Gi-Oh tournament videos and vlogs and deck techs and stuff like that, because I was a pretty damn good Yu-Gi-Oh player. If you know my real, if anyone out there, I don't want to dox myself, but if you know my real full name, like my full name, and you type that with Yu-Gi-Oh beside it, you get a lot of cool results. I wrote articles for a website called Ultra Reality Gaming. I've been featured on like Konami's blogs or regionals and so on and so forth. And I was like a young buck at the time. So content I didn't get serious about content until the pandemic, but it wasn't even intentionally to make Pokemon content. I wanted to find a way to keep our local Pokemon leagues alive during the dead time. We had TCGO, and they started doing a program, which ended up turning into like how the team challenge and stuff like that eventually broke down. But they would send out code cards that for leagues to be able to distribute online for people who were playing TCGO at the time. So I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to make a local Discord, and I'm going to try and get all the people that would play at the shop in, and all the other shops that I would organize for, and then the whole greater area. And eventually, like, I was just like, well, what's the best way to like keep people connected? Is like, what about streaming? So I started randomly streaming TCGO on Twitch. And eventually that just like kind of snowballed very crazily for the first like few months of doing it. And that it ended up working out to an extent, but now I know like I've done some things wrong. I wish I could go back and do things differently. Or if I was also smarter, I'd go back even further and just continue doing what I was doing originally and never falling off. And never like growing out of the phase of wanting to do it or whatever. But I never saw myself as like I ended up being like, I guess, because again, the competitive side of Pokemon is very, for TCG specifically, it's a very small community in general. Even though it feels like it's vastly growing, and it's starting to now. Yeah. I never thought I'd be like, oh, hey, I know you. I recognize you. Oh, I watched your stuff. Emily and I went to play in a pre-release today. Like our local store, and it's like not the one I work at. It's like very close, but their Pokemon League scene's very small. So it's pre-released today, and there's a little bit more traffic than normal, but not a lot. It was like I think 7 or 8 people total, including the 2 of us, and there were 3 or 4 new people. It was their first in-person event, so on and so forth. And then I was like talking about stuff and blah blah blah, and one of the guys that was there was like, blah blah blah. Oh, I saw your video, blah blah blah. The other person's like, oh, well, what's your stuff? And I said my name, and they're like, oh, I already follow you. So like I like that, and that happens surprisingly often. I've been approached at events and stuff, so I never in any millions of years expected to have people recognize me even on like a small community level. in that regards across the country and whatnot. So I feel like I'm rambling at this point. So
no, you're good. You're good. I mean, this is one of the things. It's again natural conversations, natural things. I want to know what it is because I don't get to experience a lot of these things. The reality of the fact is, I'm a father. I work a full-time job. I'm going to school. I'm trying to do the Twitch stuff, and I'm trying to now do this podcast thing here, and attempting to it.
Yeah.
You know,
I completely understand.
so for me, listening and hearing the stories of questions that I've always wondered from amazing people like yourself and others that will come into the show. Yes, I'm gonna praise you. Get over it. I mean, it's without a doubt, dude.
Once you feed my ego. No, I get imposter syndrome all the time, honestly, and like I don't have a massive following. It's mediocre in the grand scheme of things. But
You have almost what 3,000 now on Twitch?
Twitch is a different story, honestly. We can get into that. If anything, I would say like Twitter and YouTube are like more noticeable or recognizable for most people in Pokemon.
Fair enough.
Because I mean, my Twitch streams haven't been Pokemon as much, if not very, very little at all recently.
Yeah.
For the last few months, and that's a whole different.
Hey, but you're an amazing Fortnite player. I mean, you can kill me laughing, that's for sure. If y'all hadn't seen it, you know, go check out Stupid on Friday nights. He plays some Fortnite, and I join when I can.
If the game lets us.
Yeah. 8 hours downtime this last Friday.
No, it was more than that, dude.
Oh, was it?
It went down at like 3 a.m. Eastern.
Oh shit!
And then didn't come up until 10 p.m. Eastern.
Oh my lord!
And then it went like, I guess it went up a little bit in the morning for a couple hours and then went right back down. So like combined, I think it had to have been almost like 14, 15 hours total between the two waves of it being down. And then it still had issues until like way into the night. And I was like, I'm just going to go to bed. I don't care at this point.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think, you know, kind of the collapse that happened a lot, right? There's a lot of things. Fortnite's the biggest one from that. You're seeing I feel in the last couple of years, you're seeing a little bit more of Pokemon being collabed with a bunch of different things, kind of mixing into there as well, you know, when it comes to footwear, apparel in general, headsets, everything. I mean, just in general, you're finding a lot of different Pokemon stuff. And I think that's so cool. I think it's the funniest part because I feel like some of those items are tailored to target us as adults. It's just like, here's your really cool nostalgic Pokemon thing that you can have. Here you go, that you would never use as a kid.
Some of them also look very bad for what they are. They're very strict about their licensing and what partner companies can do with their licensing. Specifically, like there was the High Ground. No, not High Ground. What was it? 100 Thieves.
Oh yeah. That was
very expensive clothing items, but it was stock art Pokemon plastered on there with like, then it said 100 Thieves, and it was like literally like a stock art picture of Pikachu or Charizard. And it sold like crazy for some reason, and people were obsessed with it. People bought it and flipped it on eBay, and it just didn't like. I didn't know who that other brand was. And okay, cool, it's esports. Well, okay, cool. Is this a big deal?
Wait, you don't know? You didn't know who 1,000? No, really? Wow. Okay, that's amazing. I don't follow all of them, so I don't know who's all in it. Like, don't misunderstand me. I don't know like the finer details to that group, but I mean, I do know who they were, and I was saddened just to see that, because I was just like, y'all took like, this is depressing. This is art that y'all are trying to put out. Like, you could have done something.
It's stock licensing photos, like the same kid shirt at Walmart or Kohl's.
Yeah,
has the same Pikachu on it, and it's like 30,000 times less the price. And it's literally the same thing, and just instead of saying Pokemon, it'll now say 100 Thieves or whatever.
Yeah,
and I think they need to let the licenses be used a little bit more freely. And I get it, they want to protect their brand, but I think now at this point in time, like you were mentioning, like all these collabs and stuff and all this different stuff and all this merchandise and things that like you walk into a GameStop and there's a fucking Charmander waffle iron.
Yeah.
Like I think now Pokemon has officially become a lifestyle brand more than a game franchise.
I agree with that. I agree with that
And
all the way.
because now you've got Pokemon Sleep, so go to bed, play Pokemon when you wake up. You've got the one for kids where they're brushing their freaking teeth.
Yeah.
Pokemon Smile. You've got all these mobile games to keep you involved 24/7 with your mobile addiction. You've got the trading card game, you got the video game, you got Unite, you've got all the side games, and now, I mean, they're making. There's the brand new series that just came out,
Horizon,
just on Netflix, Horizons.
Yeah.
They've done digital only series like on YouTube with like what was it, the Chronicles and
the Chronicles, Path to the Champion,
Concierge on Netflix or whatever. And I feel like that one was specifically directed towards like adults and stuff like that instead. So it is a full on like lifestyle franchise now. Like it's Pokemon is as big as Mickey Mouse and Hello Kitty in parts of the world, if not maybe bigger now.
Oh yeah.
Like you could put up a sign and it's like, who's this guy? Oh, I don't know who that is. Who's this? That's Pikachu.
Yeah.
That's Charizard. That's Gengar. That's Mewtwo. Oh, who's this? Oh, that's Hello Kitty. Who's that? I don't know. And it's like the president. Some sleepy old dude. I don't know.
People have
Congress.
People have that thing with anything though sometimes too, that they stop caring about other things in the world unless it gives them some type of joy, right? And Pokemon has brought many a joy to many a people. You know, going back into the TCG aspect of it all, and now we have basically soon to be 3 different types of clients that have come out for Pokemon TCG. We had the original Pokemon Online. We currently have Live, and we have Pocket that's coming out soon to do that. And I kind of looked at Pocket. I haven't gone deep into it, so I don't know if you have or not. But Pocket seems like Speed Duel for from Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, that's a very valid comparison. I think Pocket is designed for the normal people. That's hard to say with a straight face, but like the people who don't want to sit there and play a full game competitively, and you don't even have to play TCG competitively either. You can just play whatever casually. But I think this is directed more towards like either bridging the gap from collectors into it, because it's giving you like free digital packs every day. But the biggest thing to note about Pocket is that it's being developed by Creatures Inc. and DNA, who make Masters, whereas TCG Live is all TPCI handling it. TPC, so Japan, Asia, so on and so forth, has never once recognized Live and probably won't. It's blocked from them to be able to download it in most Asian countries. They have to go through VPNs and so on and so forth to download it, make accounts outside of their area. So it's not a TPC thing, it's a TPCI thing. So like the Western world.
Okay.
And I think that's what's going to make a massive difference, is this is going to have the full backing of like TPC with Creatures, who makes the card game, fully invested. And like the cards they're showing in the trailer for it, they're exclusive to that. There might be some shared from like the actual TCG throughout history or whatever, but there are exclusive ones in there like that. I think the biggest ones to point out are like there's a Moltres in the trailer, and it's a Moltres EX, but it's 140 HP and it only does 90 damage for 3 energy. If they made that EX in the physical TCG, no one would want it. It's bad.
Yeah.
But they gave it cool flashy art that reflects to like phone moving with like the gyroscope inside or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be meant to potentially maybe get people into like wanting to play the full game, or another way to monetize. And I think this will definitely have microtransactions. I think it's alluded in the trailer that like you get 2 free packs a day. Okay, so if you want more, you got to spend money.
But that was always
Whereas
one of the things with Pokemon Company, though, is that they don't want transactions, microtransactions in their stuff.
TPCI didn't want microtransactions because they were never authorized to do so, is my knowledge.
Okay.
But TPC can do whatever they want.
Okay.
I mean,
that would be an interesting.
All the mobile games have microtransactions. Pokemon Go, you buy coins. Masters, you buy crystals or whatever. The Cafe Remix, I think you buy stuff. I've never played it, but I assume there's microtransactions.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I know you can get like DLCs and like things like that, or I think they have like a season pass or whatever that you can get, like if you were to log in like, daily and all that.
Unite, you have to buy licenses to get the characters.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're okay with monetizing.
Yeah, I mean,
I think just TPCI's way of trying to avoid it was code cards, and clearly that worked out real well with TCGO. I'm sure that game was free, but the trading and the economy inside of it, that was a problem.
That was so bad. Honestly, I'm glad they got rid of that. To be honest, I'm glad. The one thing I do like about Live, that at the time I played it, through playing it, is that it took a piece from like Yu-Gi-Oh! Masters, where you can craft the cards, you can kind of collect it over time. You don't have to necessarily trade it off with somebody. I wish that you could still trade with people to an extent, but I wish it was more of a, like, it's a cap in value. It caps the value at the coins or the gems versus of the cards in correlation, right? Like if you're going to give someone a $600 or 600 coin or gem card, they have to value that of that same value coming back to you, right? But I'm glad they got rid of the trading system. It was so horrible. I remember there was times where I was trying just to get rid of cards that I was just getting rid of extras because you couldn't transfer more than 4 over when you went into Live and all that. I was like, okay, let me get rid of all these extra cards that I don't need. And people were just skyrocketing some of the prices on some of these things. And I was like, look, I'm not trying to jip people. I just want the card gone. Like, I'll give it away for free at this point. Like, just take the shit.
The in-game economy of the code and pack market for TCGO was so bad that people had to make a third-party website that tracked the trades to figure out market values for it.
Yeah.
Like Emily brought this up a couple of days ago, and she's like looking through like her bookmarks on her computer, and she's like, "Oh my god, PTCGO prices! I forgot this existed." Like, that was the thing we had to use. Like, how many freaking codes do I gotta redeem to save booster packs? Not even open them, to have the booster packs to trade for a freaking Lugia V or whatever. Like, the amount of times that like it was so bad. It was so bad. Every time a new set would come out, the entire in-game economy would crash and change, and people made gold ultra balls and quick balls and nest balls or whatever was in rotation at the time, like the standard for a stack of packs or whatever. The fact that like 99 redeemed physical code cards from 99 physical booster packs is worth the digital equivalent of like 1 ultra ball that's gold. It was just a nightmare. I'm glad they moved away from it, but TCG Live also just it sucks, and that's a reason why, like we talked about like Twitch earlier, how like I haven't really done a lot of Pokemon, is TCG Live sucks so much.
So why? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm definitely not as into playing that on a normal basis. Honestly, I don't even remember the last time. I think the last time I opened it is when I played you on one of your streams. Why is it so bad? Why do you dislike Live so much?
Well, so anyways though, like I really dislike TCG Live. It's not a very fluid experience. PTCGO felt more user friendly, like selection process, clicking cards, being able to like drag them around, and just the interface and the menus and the sub menus and like all that stuff felt way better than this does. It also had like charm to the design, where you look at TCG Live and it's like, cool, whose boring gray desk am I looking at? What's up with all these freaking hexagons? The sound effects are atrocious. The avatars are disgusting.
Yeah.
They're glitched out all the time. Half the time they end up naked. There's hundreds of game-breaking bugs found every time there's a new update or new cards get put into the game. They just now added a game log, so like if you blink for a second and miss what your opponent does, you can finally now, 2 years into it, you can finally see what happened and what's
Has it
going
been
on.
2 years?
It's been 2 years of
Holy
live beta
shit.
at this point. Yeah. The beta and everything. Yeah, it's been 2 whole lives. It's been 2 years of it now, and it's unfun. And like the way the ladder and the rewards and the ranking stuff is, it just doesn't feel fun to play. And that's just one of the reasons why I just don't use it for content, or like if I stream it, it's like once, twice a month.
Yeah, usually
I try to have Pokemon on my schedule once a week, but I can't even freaking commit to it because it's so gross.
Yeah.
It got replaced with Dragon Ball last week, and I took the week before to go play in a Dragon Ball tournament instead. Like I instead of streaming TCGL, I drove an hour and a half to play in a tournament.
Yeah.
So I mean, I love the fact that like I was able to grow on Twitch and build an audience on Twitch, and it was through TCGO, but the transition to TCG Live has just been unfun. It feels cold and boring. In general, it feels lifeless, and it doesn't have that like Pokemon charm to it.
Okay. I mean, obviously, I was not into online or anywhere near the length the majority of y'all were. I got in. I think I signed up to it when I first heard that it had come out, and then like when I had a computer that could do it, I signed up for it just to do it, just to check it out. And then realizing that I had to use a lot more code cards in order to get things, it was just like, for me online, I couldn't do anything. At the time I wasn't really big on the collecting. So I kind of just fell away from it. I come back many years later. I still have some of the cards from the original things and whatever. I was like, okay, it's cool to see all this, but like, I'm just trying to get used to it. So when we moved from online to live, for me, it was better. And the only reason why is because I got that crafting of materials. I got that ability to get those cards that were more current without having to spend a fortune. Now, without all that being said, I did spend a fair amount of money that I probably shouldn't have on freaking code cards, because God dang, it was the need, right? In order to stay up on it, that's what you had to do.
Yeah.
But I still have a huge stack of freaking code cards that I need to give away.
Full of them that I would love to give away, but I've been lazy about it.
I'll tell you what, for anybody that watches this podcast, if you can comment both me and Steuben's favorite Pokemon from this podcast and comment, and you're the first to comment and get it right, I will send you 100 code cards through Discord or through the YouTube message or whatever, because I have more than enough that I just need to get rid of. I don't care for them, so I'll send you 100 codes for Pokemon TCG Live that you can use however you want to use. So there you go. There's it.
Incentive for listening this far in. Yeah, no, it just like the code thing was a big deal before, and I think that's also, if you look at like data of Twitch, specifically Twitch viewership of TCGO streams versus PTCGL streams, there were a lot more people who felt the need to watch streams because of giveaways. Yeah. And there were a lot, and I mean, there's still a few now, but there were a lot of streamers who made their following because they just gave away the shirt off their back in terms of code cards that don't exist anymore, that have fallen off, that they couldn't quite be super competitive and play like the meta decks or play in tournaments or play very well, but they had a large audience because every code card kid is like the term that a lot of us old heads like to call them, like the code card kids.
Yeah.
Could I, like, if you open booster packs, they come into your chat, could I have your codes, please?
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that, or like there's always every 30 seconds exclamation raffle or whatever.
Yeah.
So
I did
that's
my fair
fallen
share
off
of
for
those
sure.
too. I got in those. I was like, ticket, raffle.
Yeah, oh yeah.
What's the
I
giveaway
mean,
code?
At the time, man, code cards were money. They were anywhere when a set first came out, they might be $1. And then a few weeks later, they're probably still 50 cents. And if you need, 400 codes to build one deck on that trade market, well, shit, that's still $20, $30 of physical money that you could have just bought physical cards for instead. But if you want to play online and play test and be sweaty and stay up to date, you had to either buy an absolute metric ton of booster packs and then redeem your own codes, or you had to buy codes online or get them from people, whatever else. And they at the time they were money. They were good money. And now they're not shit.
Yeah. No, I mean it's true. There used to be a point where they were like $1 out coming out of things, and then older ones were like 10 cents. And like anytime you go to a local card shop, and there was one that I went to around me, and they had them just within their rando cards. They're like, hey, here's a bunch of rando cards, and you would find a random code card in there. And they were like, hey, it's 10 cents a code, but it's also a sketchy thing because the codes can only ever be used once. You don't know.
Somebody looked through and took a picture on their camera
and just
went home and redeemed it or whatever. So,
yeah,
big risk.
But it was always one of those things like, do you take it? Do you not? You get a 10-cent code card that's worth a bigger package right now because it's a current economy, right? Or it's not current economy, but you can open that on the system and hopefully pull a card that people want to have right now. Like that was where it all is. So I think that was the craziest factoid. We talk about also in local game shops, and you kind of touched on One Piece in there, and we've touched on Yu-Gi-Oh and things like that. So trading cards have many digital clients have come out for many of the different branches. You were playing the Dragon Ball Z one the other day. They obviously have Pokemon ones, they have Yu-Gi-Oh, they have Magic. I haven't seen a One Piece one, but I don't know if there ever will be one, to be honest.
Interesting. With the new Dragon Ball Super Fusion World client, it has a launcher that looks like it will support other things.
Okay.
The rumor is that Digimon and One Piece are getting clients.
Oh.
But those are just rumors.
That's fair.
So who knows what will happen. I mean, if you look at most Bandai card games, they typically play kind of the same to an extent anyways.
Yeah.
So they could easily figure out Digimon and One Piece that way. But also Bandai, for whatever reason, forces out like webcam regionals where you play from home with your webcam for like a regional level prize payout.
Sure.
And they're full of cheaters.
Yeah.
It's an unpleasant experience to sit on your computer for 12 hours to play best of 30-minute games.
Yeah, no, I mean, I got the pandemic thing, but when it comes to stuff like that, there's always accidents in some cases, but they're slightly off camera. Something gets put on, something gets slipped around. Obviously, you don't want to show your hand on camera the entire time because your opponent can see it. So your hand's not usually seen on screen, and you can't have it flat on there. That just doesn't doesn't help.
Hold it at a weird angle, then you gotta poker, get underneath and look at it. It's a process.
Yeah.
And then your opponent Timmy just happens to have his deck in red sleeves, and he just happens to also have off to the right where he could grab a bunch of other cards in red sleeves that just happen to beat your deck or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, that card that's no use against this deck. Oh well, this one works fine, kind of thing. Oh yeah. I think webcam plays are truly only best when you're playing with friends.
Yep.
And people because I obviously in more than most of those cases it's for fun. So I mean, if you're cheating when you're having fun and playing with your friends, then there's something wrong with you to begin with anyway. But in that same token, like that's what it's meant for. It's meant for fun and meant to have a good time and things like that. Actually, the one thing that I did like, there's a client or a website called Spell Table for Magic the Gathering.
I've heard of that, yeah.
And it I've played a couple Magic games on there with some buddies of mine, and I loved it. I thought it was really cool to be able to better read the card, so someone's not having to sit there and read the card like a thousand things that could click on it. Wasn't the most perfect thing, of course, especially depending on your webcam, but all in all, it was a really cool thing, and I wish they would add a client like that for every trading card game to be played on webcam. So when I can click on a card, read it better, see it, have that general information at my disposal, to know like, okay, this is that card. Like, I think that would be really cool. Too. What is one of the things that you felt TCG Pokemon is missing based on like the games and like the anime? Like, what is a key component that you feel like is just not there that you would love to see within it?
This is very specific. At one point in time, the tournament structure was very different. We have league challenges and league cups that are held at local game stores. We have regionals held in convention centers, internationals in convention centers, worlds in convention centers. But in the past, we used to have state championships, battle roads, city championships, where city championships were held, and so were battle roads and stuff. They were held in stores, but there was a regional tournament organizer, like for your area, not like regionals, like the event regionals, but like your region. That TO was the one who could schedule those events. The biggest problem right now with the Pokemon TCG is the fact that every independent store or organizer who is either an employee of said store or a volunteer of said store, there's not really much communications in most areas. There's some places like Chicago and Seattle and stuff that I've seen have really good communication. There are event overlaps all the time, and it's a detriment to players. I had my local quarterly league cup scheduled originally for the 23rd of this month. I scheduled mine the first day I was allowed to. Last month, which is like a month and a half in to when you're allowed to schedule them, 2 other stores within a 75-mile radius scheduled the same day. For league cups, people are traveling, hour, 2 hours to come play for championship points to go to worlds.
Yeah.
When all of these stores schedule the same day, it hurts the players, but it also hurts your store.
Yeah.
And I miss the fact that we had like those premier tournament organizers in a certain area who were able to schedule events and make sure there was no overlap. So that way people could go, all right, hey, this weekend we're here on Saturday. We're here on Sunday on this week. In the middle of the week, we're going to be here on Wednesday and Thursday at this place and that place. And then the weekend after, we're here and there. Come play as much as you want. I think we need stuff like that again. We also need something similar to, and Bandai does one thing right, in my opinion, for their trading cards, is they do store championships where you can earn, just like we have cups that earn points. But the best part about these store championships is they make these awesome exclusive prize cards for these local events. So this is a exclusive alternate art version. It's still in the plastic. I haven't opened it.
Yeah.
Of a Digimon card, Double Typhoon.
Okay.
You get this from winning an event at the store. And you can only get this from winning the event, not participating, only for winning. And all these stores will hold these. Pokemon is missing something like this right now, to where people are just playing for points, whatever store credit or booster packs, which you can get freaking anywhere, or a play mat that they mass produce. I think we need something like this as Pokemon players to want to earn and play a little bit more at a better level than just showing up and, okay, cool, I got my 15 points for my league challenge. We need cool, innovative prize cards at every level of the game to incentivize people to want to play more.
I agree.
Or have different values to chase. Not every Pokemon player wants to go to 4 stores a week to grind championship points to go to Worlds. Some people just want to play in a tournament, win something cool.
Yeah.
Whether it's at their local game shop or a half hour or an hour away or whatever. That's what I think.
So what I feel from what you're saying there, it's more of stop looking at that necessarily that huge picture, that huge last event that where everyone's trying to go to. But remember, we're all down here, a mass majority of us, and we need to get these people down here wanting to participate and level and play the game just to play.
Yes.
So we can continue to grow these bigger events, but not just with, for lack of better terms, sweaty people. You know,
not everybody can afford to go to every single regional and go to every single League Cup and League Challenge. I feel like playing the Bandai games is much more rewarding for the local warriors than it is playing Pokemon. Pokemon is rewarding for competitive players who are willing to travel. And, you know, right now, travel is not the cheapest thing. Like, you can build a top tier Pokemon deck for $40, $50, $60 for the most part. And yet, regional entry fee is $70.
Yeah.
Travel, plane tickets, gas, hotel, food, whatever. That adds up.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
to play in a competitive event. I think we need something on a much smaller scale, like those state championships that we used to have that aren't quite a regional, but aren't also held in a little podunk game store that may or may not suck.
Yeah. I've never actually played in a local store.
I think you should. I think if you can find if you can find an event, it's like $10. Slap a deck together and just go experience it.
Yeah.
Because like no one understands Pokemon events until you've actually participated in them, because it just makes no sense. Like, well, what the hell are championship points?
Yeah.
Why do I have to play at this event at your store for points, but also go to regionals for points? Are they different? Are they the same thing? It's slightly confusing for people. Like, okay, cool, we have a tournament this week. Oh, but next week's a league challenge. Well, what's a league challenge? Well, it's a tournament that gives you points. Well, what are the points? Like, we need something for, you know, people, and they also just need to experience it, I guess. I guess the best thing, if you want to experience a Pokemon tournament, but you're a little intimidated or afraid or don't want to build a standard format deck or whatever, then try a pre-release. You get everything you need to play handed to you for your entry fee. Just get some sleeves and bring your own playmat, your own dice, whatever, and just listen to the people running the event and have a good time. Get your feet wet.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to find time for it, for sure. I want to be able to experience it. You know, me and you had talked last year about the Arlington in Texas one. There was one in San Antonio this last year. Unfortunately, you know, due to life events, I wasn't able to go to either one of those. But it definitely would be, it's still something I want to do, still something I want to go and just experience. Obviously, I think I probably should go to a local to experience a little bit more before I jump my butt into a regional event. Just a thought process there. The last tournament, like full on tournament that I've been into with physical cards was like in high school. We had a trading card club in high school, and the teacher actually put together a tournament at the school level, which we had I think like 20 or 30 people show up to the event. I ended up getting second place into it. Dude beat me by with, I forgot what I was playing back then, but it was actually for Yu-Gi-Oh, and I lost to him, and he's the only one of the few people that I ever freaking lose to anyway. Oh no, it wasn't Yu-Gi-Oh, it was Magic. He was playing a flipping Goblin deck, and it was just slightly faster than mine. And yeah, so I love the concept of the tournaments, and I love to getting a passion into it for sure. I feel like I'm still trying to find that passion for Pokemon and understanding the deck building of Pokemon myself, because I'm more of a Yu-Gi-Oh and a Magic player background.
Sure. It's very, very drastic fundamentals from Pokemon, where like Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, the new Dragon Ball game, Lorcana. Those games are about hand advantage and board presence. Whereas Pokemon, you could have the greatest hand in the world, but there's Iono. How you gonna play out of it? So like it's a whole different ball game in terms of like, you know, strategies, how to play the game at a fundamental level. versus like where if you pick up and play the new Dragon Ball game, but you've played Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh before, or you've played One Piece, those skills tend to overlap between these other games. But with Pokemon, they don't at all. Generic stuff like, sequencing and, playing the right cards and stuff, that kind of does, and like reading comprehension and that kind of nonsense, basic math, like those carry over between game to game. But just like Pokemon fundamentals are so different than like every other TCG, drastically. It's weird, like comparing like the new Dragon Ball game to Lorcana, but there's similarities.
Yeah,
like you've got buff dudes who rage and their hair grows, and but yet Lorcana has a similar aspect of like using cards in your hand to turn into like your energy or your ink. If you follow along with those games, just like how like Pokemon has energy cards, but those go on the Pokemon themselves. Or like Magic, you have your lands.
Yep.
Magic lands, and like that you have to dedicate deck slots to those cards. Versus where like Lorcana, like your ink is your resource, but those are just cards that you just have in your deck in the first place. Same with Dragon Ball. You just use the cards that you already have as your energy instead of, having to play energy cards like Pokemon. So there are things that kind of like mentally cross over between the games, but Pokemon is just so far removed in terms of like game design from the others by far.
Do you feel like because of that, that's why a lot of people didn't take to Pokemon at the start when it came to like the play of it in general?
100%. Yeah, it's easy to learn how to play Pokemon now, but it's kind of convoluted in comparison to Magic, where it's like, okay, cool, you can play a land, you can tap your land, the cost is up in the top corner. All right, well, cool. How do I get my stage 2 Poliwrath in play? Well, you have to evolve from Poliwhirl. Well, how do I do that? You have to evolve from Poliwag. Okay, well, here's in my hand. I got Poliwhirl. No, you gotta wait a turn. Like, oh, you gotta attach energy. I can't attack. What are these? Like, it is a little bit more convoluted at the base set, like 1999, 2000 level, to learn how to play that. Versus whatever. But also you have to think too that the trading card game and everything was like at that time was like targeted to kids only. Yeah. Now the trading card game is targeted to all ages. And they've done a better job about like, distribution of learning how to play and of demo events and demo products and introductory products. Like they made those board game ones, the Battle Academies.
Oh yeah. I've actually gotten the 2 of them, except that newest one that was like $300, but it had really nice stuff.
Academy. That's not a bad. That's like a premier collector's item.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
The TCG Classic thing.
Yeah. With all those really fancy damage counters and everything, those are nice.
That's like a baller's experience kind of thing. I don't even have that, and I love Pokemon. I couldn't.
My buddy got it. My buddy got it from it. He has magic pools, man. He does fucking a whole nother level on it. Absolutely amazing. And he got it. I was like, dude, why? Like, you're never gonna. He's like, it just looked pretty. I was just like, you know what, man, whatever, fine. I mean, good for you. I'm happy for you. You're never gonna use the flipping cards, but whatever. Good for you. Those damage counters are collect us.
But now we have things like the trainer's toolkits where it's like, all right, cool, here's a brick of playable trainer cards and some energy and stuff to help you start building a deck. The starter decks have gotten drastically better. In terms of like the league battle decks, like Miraidon last season, top tier competitive deck. Cool. You could buy a $30 product that's a full 60 card ready to play deck that if you want to make it better, you don't have to spend much more or do much more to it. Add a couple common cards, add a couple holo rares, maybe another V or 2, call it a day. They've done that with the Mew deck, the Ice Rider, the Shadow Rider, the Urshifus. They've been really doing good now with making these better competitive-ish starter products comparative to, like, okay, cool, here's a holo for Alligator and 59 cards and 25 of them are basic energy. When no decks at a competitive level are playing 25 energy cards.
Oh no, not at all. I think that was I obviously, like I said, I came back into TCG over the last couple of years, and I think that was where it was a hard place for me, because obviously I don't feel like I'm a collector in any way of the sense of world. I love opening the EBTs and the collector packs and things like that, and seeing those really nice pulls that I've ever gotten. I mean, I got a golden Mew from one of the sets from the 25 lunchbox, the lunchbox thing, and I think that was awesome. It was a great pull. I love the pull from it, but I've always wanted to play more. Like, that was my thing. So when they started coming out with these decks, or these little deck things, I was just like, okay, do I stop buying these EBTs and start buying these pre-made decks and be like, okay, let me make these better? And that was still hard for me because again, I come back from a Yu-Gi-Oh and a Magic background. I never bought pre-made decks on any of those standards. It was, I got a bunch of random cards, let me slap them together, let's see what happens.
Yep.
And slowly got better at it. You know, I have probably over 24 Yu-Gi-Oh decks. I probably have about a dozen Magic decks. And I probably have about less than a dozen Pokemon decks at the current moment. You know, and those are the main things for me. But I never considered buying those because I almost felt like it was a cop out for it, you know, like, it's saying that I don't have the skill to build a deck, but it's also, on that flip side, it's a great starting point too, you know. I don't know.
The thing I always try to tell new players who, you know, like, come into the shop or go to tournaments that I'm helping out or whatever, is that you have to kind of like swallow your pride and bite your tongue, and just honestly, like, the only way you're going to learn how to play Pokemon correctly at like a competitive level is to net deck, is to buy those products and start using them as is. It's a little bit harder to get into it as a competitive level because a lot of the products they sell are just like kind of shit sometimes.
Yeah.
I can't really like go too crazy because they've given me stuff before. But some products they make are literally targeted to dogs that just want to lick peanut butter off the surface of something.
Fair enough.
In terms of brain power. They make things that are either meant for little kids or just don't make any sense at all. Why did you make this? Who wants this? Who's buying this? Why are you buying this? And they've learned their lessons. The last 2-ish years of sealed Pokemon products has gotten a lot better. Now, there's been a few questionable things, but it's gotten better for people who want to play the game, for sure. Since the kind of big bubble burst of like the Logan Pauls and the flippers and stuff like that, there's still a lot of people out there collecting and flipping and whatnot. But like, at least for me, the way that I've built the local community through the shop is that we sell more to people who are playing the game now versus the people who are coming in and buying a box they couldn't buy packs anywhere else 2 years ago. So like that level of foot traffic and stuff has changed. I officially, like, because we have a smaller store and we have limited table space, like as of the last 2 weeks, I now going forward have to do pre-registration for everything.
Oh, wow.
We have outgrown our space.
That's great though. I mean, it's
a good problem to have, but it also sucks at the same time.
Yeah. Because you were always catering to everybody at one point. Like, you didn't never turned anybody away.
And now I'm turning away people on the regular for events.
Yeah. That's a hard
It's a double-edged sword. Like, yeah, you've been loyal and you come and play, but sorry, you were just like 7 minutes too late. Timmy and Susie were here before you. Get fucked.
Yeah.
Like, I don't say it that way. But like,
yeah.
It is unfortunately the way it is. There's always product limits and sellouts and whatever. Like I ran 2 pre-releases yesterday for the new set. First one, full capacity, every seat in the store filled. I had to turn away a handful of people. I was like, hey, we have another one at 5:30. Come on back in a little bit. So,
yeah,
you know, sometimes you just got to bite the bullet, and a few people came back and attempted to play again, and they got in because not everyone stayed for both events. So it just, it is what it is, but you know, not everyone is trying to play the game. Some people just want like, oh, can I just like buy the products and leave? Technically with pre-release, no, not allowed to, not anymore.
Yeah.
So
as
Magic, you can walk in and buy a whole booster box on pre-release day and call it a day, and then walk out and not have to sit there and play.
Yeah.
Pokemon's super weird about like product distribution in those regards too.
I think they draw that from Nintendo, because I think Nintendo's always been kind of weird about their their releases of like games and things. So I think like maybe a little. I'm not saying like that was a direct, like Nintendo directly says like, hey, but I think maybe like something like that.
Nintendo like just has licensing in general. They have no effect on distribution or like card production or whatever.
Yeah. So kind of before we switch into the video games, because there's some really good, interesting aspects on video games. What was your top set over the last, let's just say from the pandemic to now? Do you feel like was your favorite set that has come out so far? And what was like the one set that you had the most excitement that had come out during that time?
That's hard because like again, like sets in Pokemon don't feel like sets in other games where like they're a cohesive like group of stuff, especially Western Pokemon. It's because like we get a hodgepodge of shit. Like Japan will get mini sets, like instead of Scarlet and Violet, they got Scarlet and Violet as two separate pieces, where here we got them together plus everything else. So like it's sometimes it's weird because like, you know, the pull rates can be weird, and you know, oh hey, they got a promo card. The Western world didn't get that, so let's shove that promo card into this set, and it makes no sense being here whatsoever. So we get a lot of like, I guess, backhanded product sometimes with like Pokemon. So I can't necessarily pick a set overall that I'm like, oh, I love this set. I enjoy this. I guess the most cohesive one is 151.
Okay.
But I think a lot of people like that for the nostalgia of what it is. I'm like 3 cards away from completing the set. And I don't typically do that. I don't typically like go out of my way to master set is the term.
Yeah.
Of like having every card, every reverse, so on and so forth. It accidentally happens. We were able to do it with a Scarlet and Violet base set. And I'm like $30 away, and I just don't want to buy it online. I'd rather find it in person or trade for it. It feels cooler that way. It's more sentimental.
Yeah.
Finishing 151. So I guess 151. As a content creator, I think I would have to say Silver Tempest, because that was the first time TPCI gave me product and recognized me as a creator. Okay,
that's fair. I did like the 151 set, but for some reason Pokemon Go set honestly was my favorite set that has come out.
Go is super cool as a concept.
Yeah, I
as a player, the cards aren't that great.
No,
but the fact that like it's like those everyday scenarios of you with your phone and your game, and like the stuff that's in there that makes sense of those cards like in 3D and in the real world, and like significance of like the Mewtwo V-Star, and like how it was like the big first raid event in the game, and how it like the backdrop of it's in the cities and stuff like that. And you know, like the team leaders being cards and so on and so forth. Yeah, that as a concept, as a set like that, that's a very cool set too.
Yeah,
and if you want to like master set that, it's one of the absolute cheapest ones to put in a binder, have all the cards together.
Yeah, I think my buddy that I said does amazing pulls. He pulled 3 of the secret rare Mewtwo's and gave me or the alternate art Mewtwo's and gave me one of them, which was great because like I said, I mean that's one of my top cards and top Pokemon, and so it was really cool to have that. And I loved the set absolutely, what it became and what it did. So I think that was definitely my favorite set into there. So now kind of going into video games. Pokemon video games. Video games, obviously, we kind of said, Pokemon Silver was my first. You had Pokemon Blue, or Red, I'm sorry. You wanted Blue, you got Red. And then,
I even ripped the label off of my cartridge of Red as a kid and put like a Nidoking sticker on the front.
Oh my
I
god.
have it. It's like over on the shelf. I'd get up, but like I'm not wearing pants. I know I'm going to pause and edit again.
Nah,
So,
that's fine. that's a little humor. What do you not need to wear when you're streaming when it's all above?
I mean, I have underwear on.
I would hope so at this point. Anything past that would get a little weird. Anyways, no. So I mean, video games have been out for years and years with it. And for me, like I kind of said, there was just a certain point where I stopped getting necessarily attached to the game itself and just been like, hey, I just want to play just to play. The remakes of Soul Silver and Heart Gold is where I kind of was like, oh man, I can't wait for it. I want to play it. I want to love it again like I did back then, and it was great. Gen 5 is where I just started dying off. I didn't pick up Pokemon heavy again, I feel, until Sword and Shield, honestly. And then I started going in. Obviously, I played Scarlet and Violet. I still need to beat the newest DLC, the Indigo disc, on there.
I haven't played any of the Scarlet and Violet DLC at all. I haven't purchased it. I haven't downloaded it. I played the game. I finished it. I took a week-ish of slow roll in the Pokedex, and I haven't fucking touched it since.
Dang. What do you feel that is missing from your experience? Well, yeah, I mean,
a lot. Like, I don't want to go on a crazy long rant or rampage, but I think when we moved from 2D to kind of 2D, 3D to full 3D, it lost a lot. If you go back and you play Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, or X and Y, or Sun and Moon, or Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, they feel so much better because you still have to use like imagination to an extent. Yeah. And there was somehow they were able to display emotion and creativity to where now it's like a broken mess. Sure. I would say I liked Sword and Shield and the DLCs for that more than I do Scarlet and Violet. I would say Arceus is probably the only good, again, I use quotes with that, good game in the main series in recent history.
So you go into Arceus. Arceus doing that, right? Obviously the newest game just got announced, Z to A. This is what I feel a lot of people weren't looking for.
Everyone expected like a Gen 2 remake again, or a Johto Legends or whatever, like Celebi or something or whatever, or a Let's Go Togepi and Meryl. People hyped up. People expected a Black and White remake, or whatever, because it's due. They've done it for all the other games. It's time. It's been 10 years. It's due for it.
Yeah.
But no, good. We'll see what happens. I mean, it's interesting. Like I said, I like X and Y. I like Mega Evolutions. I think Mega Evolutions are the coolest and I guess the best gimmick in terms of like gameplay and battle strategies and whatnot. So the fact that we're going to go back to Kalos is cool. I think what a lot of people don't recognize, and this is like story-wise, plot-wise, or like the Pokey Earth, is that the Paldea region, Scarlet and Violet, shares a border with Kalos.
Okay.
Geography. The story of X and Y is about AZ and the ultimate weapon and to destroy a meteorite that would, because there's the Delta episode and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire and all that. Yeah. And how like the world with Mega Evolution and the world without Mega Evolution are two separate universes or dimensions of the Pokemon universe or whatever. And that's why there's not Mega Evolution in these new Nintendo Switch games, except for Let's Go.
Okay.
Which is like a sub game.
Yeah.
So I think that because everyone expected, okay, cool, it's been all these years, let's go back to Johto, or we're gonna go back to Unova. The fact that they're giving Lumio City in Kalos, I think it has more to do with Scarlet and Violet than people want to admit, because they, like I said, they're bordering regions or countries or whatever.
Yeah.
in the Poke Earth or the Poke World or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I guess I mean I never actually knew that, so that's kind of interesting. I would love to probably I need to probably look up like an actual general map of the Poke World and see like where all these things
if you
lie.
Think of it this way, they've never truly shown that they're connected, but you can put bits and pieces together. And if you think about it, okay, Kalos is based off of France. Okay, well, what's to the southwest of France? Spain.
Yeah.
And what is Paldea? Spain.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just the first assumption. Secondly, there was in the plot too, like the Great War or whatever between two countries. Paldea and Kalos went to war at one point in time. So
So what do you I mean, obviously each generation they find new Pokemon, all these Pokemon start existing and things like that. And obviously as a person, we know that this is just when they created them, they're all like, okay, these started to exist and things like that. What I've never really understood is why eliminate mechanics. Like, I feel like every time the Mega Evolution, the Gigantamax evolutions and things like that, they're all like, okay, well, these things just started to stop existing into these other games. And I never really understood that, because to me it's just like, you're going to basically tell me that these professors don't communicate with anybody outside the world. Like, this just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you have to think of it this way though too, like what causes terrestrialization is like these like weird crystals that grow in the ground. They can only be found there. Okay, cool. What about Dynamax? Okay, there's these like holes in the ground that make this energy. They only exist here. Okay, Megastones happen to be, I guess, all over the world or whatever, because they were in Hoenn and Kalos and Alola. So, I mean, technically Kanto or whatever as well, and theoretically Johto, since Let's Go is like kind of close to it, so on and so forth. But again, there's that whole like split universe theory or whatever. Like, it's not like the MCU or whatever. Like, there's different timelines and different Earths. You got Earth 616 and 626 and 669 or whatever. You know? So, I think they changed game mechanics intentionally to keep it fresh. I mean, you know, there's a competitive VG scene, just like there is TCG, with regional pricing. With, you know, you win, it's X $1,000 of cash and so on and so forth. And so it just keeps it, I guess, fresh in those eyes.
Yeah.
A lot of like top level VG players do enjoy the terrestrial mechanic. I think we're just jaded because we just, you know, the TCG terrestrial stuff kind of sucks.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I agree with you. I feel like the Mega Evolution was it was a good gimmick, and I think, but it helped like just make leveling up a Pokemon, maxing them out in most cases, is like, hey, you can make it even stronger for this moment, for this thing. It has like the specialty and things like that. I think that was really cool. I like the Gigantamax because in some aspects there was those Pokemon that had the Gigantamax moves that were specific to them and things like that.
Form changed or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like Snorlax grew a massive land on his belly. Gengar turned into a black hole that could suck everything up. Like, some of those were really cool in those regards too.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, but like Megas, what they did is, I think, like, they may, oh, you love this Pokemon? Well, how about we do this to it? Do you like it now? Do you like it even more? Like, you know, they gave Ampharos a flowing bunch of hair. Well, I've had a flowing bunch of hair my whole life, so it just makes sense. Mega Ampharos is fabulous. It's the best Mega. Don't at me.
I do love that Mewtwo has 2 Megas, though. I do love that. I don't know how I feel about both of them. However, I do like that he got it.
One of them is just more Mewtwo. The other one is if Mewtwo did steroids and hung out with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yes.
Turned into a Dragon Ball. Like, one of them is like it freezes one form, the other one is freezes other form.
Yeah. I saw something on. I think it was either on Twitter, or on Instagram, or whatever. Some social media.
Mega Evolution is just like going Super Saiyan or whatever. You know.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing. So
breaking your barriers and just like poof, you know. Have you ever thought to actually become a competitive VGC player?
No. I already struggle playing the video games as it is. Not like as a like at a it's hard, but like attention span kind of thing. And to be VG, you have to breed. Oh, wrong IV, dumpster. Breed. Oh, damn, wrong hidden value. Oh, no, not the right nature. Oh, not the right ability. Like, I don't care to do all that. Like, as much as it sucks to say, like, okay, cool, I could just go on TCG Player and purchase my Charizard EX instead of sitting here and spending 47 hours trying to breed it or catch the right one or whatever. And then you got to grind it up, level it up, blah, blah, blah. And then you got to learn a move pool. Yeah, sure. We you know, like if you want to play TCG competitively, you kind of need to know the metagame. But it's easier to adapt on the fly with strategies and cards versus strategies of, oh shit, they've got this move that I can't do, or this thing is immune to my entire team.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Like, whereas, yeah, sure, weakness and resistance exist in the TCG, but they're not that impactful. In the grand scheme of things.
I've never actually looked at the weakness in TCG as being a true advantage or disadvantage, because
sometimes it is for sure. Like when Miraidon blew up last year and started taking down Lugia, it made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Sometimes things like that will exist. It's just like, okay, this deck is good. This deck is also good, but this deck now officially auto loses to that deck because of weakness, and that happens. But you can still win. You can still play out of it. It's, you know, it's never like 90-10.
Yeah.
In their favor. You can still play it and do things. So
that's fair. Going into Pokemon video games and things like that, obviously over the last few years, I feel like they've become a lot more popular, or I've just been more aware of it.
You're right. I mean,
you know,
the Nintendo Switch is Nintendo's best-selling system in a long time. I think there's way more Switches sold than there were Wii U. There's way more Switches sold than, I don't know about maybe the Wii, but definitely more than the GameCube. Stuff like that. The fact that like all the Pokemon games up until the Switch were on the secondary, like the main Pokemon games were on the secondary Nintendo consoles.
Yeah.
Like your handhelds, your 3DS, your 2DS, your Game Boy Advance, Game Boy, so on and so forth. Where those, you know, they didn't sell that well in terms of like main consoles, but you know, the Switch itself is a monster in terms of sales, because it, like, cool, I could buy a game console that I can take with me. Oh, I can play casual games or cool games by Nintendo. I'm in, you know. So that's one of the driving factors of what made Pokemon in more recent history like seem like the video game numbers are out there. You could Google like number of Nintendo consoles sold over the years and which ones are the best, and number of Pokemon games, and there's definitely a correlation between, okay, this game sold X million copies and the system sold X million units, so it makes sense, versus like, okay, cool, there's only like 10 of these out there and they only sold 4 copies of the game. That kind of, you know, thing exists and makes sense that way.
Yeah.
There's a lot more people that have Nintendo Switches over people who had 3DSs.
That's fair.
And the 3DS lasted like what? 2010, 2011, all the way until 2019 almost. A year lifespan. So a lot of Pokemon games on it, XY, Sun and Moon. So
yep.
All the spin-offs and side series like Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, so on and so forth.
You know, thinking of spin-offs, Pokemon Pinball was probably one of my fave spin-off games. It was so basic, but it was so much fun to play. I enjoyed playing
Pokemon
that.
Puzzle Challenge on Game Boy Color was mine.
Okay.
I still have my cartridge. It doesn't count the hours in it anymore because I have the limit. In Pokemon Puzzle Challenge is just Tetris Attack.
Yeah.
Reskinned, and also they had an N64 game, Pokemon Puzzle League. Same thing, same game, just skinned differently, different sound effects, different backgrounds, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like Tetris Attack. I'm surprised they haven't streamed Tetris Attack on Twitch yet. I might have to now.
There you go. There you go. Content idea, right? You never know where it's going to come from. Well, that leads us into kind of our last segment, or two of our last segments here on the show today, y'all. This next segment is going to be the Shadow Nexus, the Shadow Trivia. Basically, what's going to happen is I'm going to ask you a series of questions. It's going to be 10 questions. You're going to do the best that you can. You're going to answer the questions and, see what your high score is. Right now, the high score is 9 out of all the topics. The trivia questions are tailored to the topic of the stream, because obviously you're a expert on these topics.
Okay.
Every person that's going to be on every guest that I'm going to have is are ideal knowledgeable about these topics and things like that. Some of these questions may be a little difficult. It is okay. It's completely for fun, and it's also for potential bragging rights if you continue to make the top 10 scores, and then I got to add more questions so people can jump over scores, right?
Okay.
But yeah, I'm just going to ask you a series of questions. Answer to the best of your abilities. We're going to put our little number there in the center, just so we can see what's going on and go from there. Ideally, these are going to go a little more difficult as the stages go on, but we'll kind of go from there. So, question number 1. What is the name of the first Pokemon in the Pokedex?
The Pokedex is Bulbasaur.
That is correct. See, we're already tracking well. Why?
Easy. It's common knowledge. My grandma knows that.
What is the name of the organization from Gen 1 and 2 that are considered the bad guys?
Team Rocket.
Correct.
You said these are going to be hard.
Oh, and
All right, bring it on, man. I want all video game knowledge, though, because then I will eventually falter.
no.
Okay.
No. I mean, technically, I guess the Pokedex is video game knowledge, so that's fair. What is the legendary Pokemon that created the universe?
Created the universe? It's Arceus.
Also, Legends of Arceus came out, and to do that to help it a little bit more. Now I'm trying to think. I think most of my questions, or more of my questions, are based on the thing.
All right, I'll try. I'm not a video game expert. I'm not a TCG expert. I'm just, I guess, a jackass of all trades.
Fair enough. What is the name of the Pokemon species that is also known as the Wool Pokemon?
The wool Pokemon?
Yep.
Wooloo.
I figured you would get this. Mareep.
I mean, when you say wool, like I think of Wooloo.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Mareep is more of an electric sheep.
This is also true. I'll give
the
it
whole like I Dream of Electric Sheep thing, like from what was it? I can't remember the band, but Google that.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know that song at all, so we'll have to Google that and find out. What was the first Pokemon that Ash catched in the anime series?
Pikachu doesn't count because it was given to him.
Correct.
Actually caught was Caterpie.
That is correct. Caterpie was the very first one. He tried to catch a Pidgey and failed miserably. That stuff is always funny. What is the only not the only. What is the Pokemon that maintained its solo type through all 3 evolutions that was a starter in the first generation?
Blastoise, Squirtle, Wartortle.
Yep. It's funny. I had this conversation with somebody a while back. I don't know if it was the, what's that effect called? Where we think it's one thing. That shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly did not know that there was double types in Pokemon until at least Gen 2 or 3. I didn't realize that at all. And we got through it. Somebody, Library Jesus actually was the one who sent me a screenshot of a Pokemon Green that had Nidoking with the double generation or double typing. And I was just like, I did not believe it for the life of me. I was like, no, this is not right. This is wrong.
Poison and ground.
And so that was crazy. Like, I didn't know Charizard was a double type until later. I was like, I thought this was an adjustment or something. No,
Fire flying.
Yeah.
Not a dragon.
What is the only dual type Pokemon that is immune to ground moves?
Immune to ground. Immune to ground, dual type. So it's got to be something flying, but not flying normal. It does abilities make it matter or whatever? Or is it just because of types? Because
just types.
Just types. So what's a dual type flying that isn't flying normal? That isn't. Gotta take it from ground. Tropius. I don't know.
Trying to remember that Pokemon.
It's like a banana bird.
Oh.
It's like a Brachiosaurus kind of thing. I'm probably wrong. I don't know.
Oh, it was Flygon.
No, he's
Flygon?
He's not a dragon. He's ground flying. No, is he a dragon? I don't know. Whatever. I told you I'm gonna fall the
video game.
Video game shit.
No, you're good. You're good. What? How many Pokemon are there now?
1007.
Yeah. There's a lot, dude. To think we went from 151 to 1007. That is insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy. The easy way to remember it right now is Golden Go is number 1000, and then he's gold. So like lucky number 7. So 1007 is the way I remembered it.
Oh, that's a nifty way to do it.
They're like, so for people who play the physical game for the trading card, it's like, okay, well, which way, they always forget which way is sleep, which way is paralysis. Well, if you break it down, sleep SL, turn the card to the left. Paralysis PAR, turn it to the right.
Huh. Okay.
That'll help you. You'll never forget now. You'll never forget.
I will left. Okay. No, I probably will. I'm dyslexic, so I get my left and right mixed up all the time. There's a high chance that I still won't, but that's good to know. What is one card that has one stage 1 that can also evolve into at least 2 or can evolve that has a base reword. What is a card that has a basic Pokemon that has 2 different stage 1 cards?
Flapple, Appleton, just what is it? Applin is the Applin.
Applin. Yep.
And eventually it'll have what, 2 more?
Yeah, with the Hydra.
Yeah.
Well, did that one change? I thought that one changed because no.
Hydrapple's a whole different Pokemon.
Yeah, no, you're right. No, it will have another one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's gonna be crazy to have that.
Also, another answer that would be successful would be Slowpoke, because Slowbro and Slowking.
You are correct. That's true. It's crazy to see the double evolutions on different cards and how people can play them. Like, you can have the same card out there and be like,
I mean,
okay.
the big one right now is like Curlia could go to Gallade or Gardevoir.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Stage 2, but still.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. There's one more question. In the Pokemon anime, which episode marks the first appearance of Eevee?
I don't know the name of the episode, but I can describe it pretty well.
Okay, I would accept that.
I want to say it's before they get to Cerulean City, and then they meet the 3 brothers that have the corresponding evolutions colored, like, that match their clothes. They're like 3 brothers or whatever. They each have their own evolutions.
Yeah.
I don't know the name of the episode.
No, you're fine. That good description. I'll accept that.
I fondly remember the episode itself.
It's episode 40, the Battling Eevee Brothers.
And then the little brother didn't want to evolve at all.
Yep.
Yeah.
The starting with that, which is funny because that kind of starts a thing later. Because there's that one, and I can't remember the name for the life of me, but he has all the evolutions, and then he has one Eevee that isn't evolved, and that Eevee like has the ability to do last resort and all that, and it for some reason makes it stupid strong. I never understood that. And then there's another one where Eevee can like copy the abilities and do all the moves of all the other evolutions as long as it saw it in the anime. I believe that's in the Kalos series, which I thought was just like, that's crazy. Like that's cool. I would love to see it, but
the anime had its own rules, man. It didn't follow anything that. Everything's made up and none of it matters.
Yeah.
It's a giant the giant island of the giant Pokemon. Then you have the pink island where they eat berries that turn pink. The crystal onyx, like, come on. There's so many, like, that's not real. That never existed. That's made up for showmanship.
Yeah, for sure. So not bad. 9 out of 9, holding that top place with Trap Reaper from episode 1. So we're holding into there. So far, I've been able to trip up everyone on at least one question, which is good for me because I'm picking at least semi-difficult questions, and they're not all too easy, I feel. But that's always a good thing. So good stuff. Staying on that top there. Obviously, in later episodes, if you ever come back, which I would always love to have you as a guest again, if we ever go through it, you get a chance to go for that 10 for 10. And I'll try to redeem myself. Yeah, there you go. So now that's our trivia, and I love to do it. I think it's always good to kind of just see where general knowledge is of people on here and things like that. Honestly, I think half the times I would fail these things. So, at least I know I'm not that great. But now the last little segment before we close out the episode is the Would You Rather.
Oh, don't tell me this is going to be like the supporter hot or not that
know who you nothing like that.
Would you rather?
No.
Nothing incriminating, please.
No, nothing like that. It is just, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. It's basically Would You Rathers into it and just kind of answer them as it is. The really big part of it, or one of the first ones would be, would you rather be a gym leader or would you rather be a Pokemon trainer?
Neither.
No,
I mean, do I have to pick one or the other?
I mean, you don't have to. It would be nice to kind of see where you would lie more, but no, you don't have to.
Neither. I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm more of an Elite Four kind of guy.
Oh, okay. My bad. We didn't hit a big enough title. That's what it was. I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. Well, praise your Elite Fourness, you shit. Oh. Would you rather live in the Pokemon video games that exist today, or would you rather Pokemon be in the real world today?
Isn't that kind of the same thing? Like,
No.
Wouldn't that be your real world then?
Uh,
I think I got you. I think I got you there.
no. Yeah, maybe. Oh.
I think I'm okay with it being a figment of our imaginations and everything. I'm good. I mean, the real world kind of sucks. I get that, but like, nah.
That's fair.
I don't think I can justify either one.
That's fair. Okay. Wow, these are 2 for 2 on these. I guess in the end, all right, it's not so much a would you rather, which is fine. But what would be? No. I mean, like as this next question. At this point, it's fine because obviously, apparently, I'm not wording things right, and it's okay. I just like, well, shit. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, you're bringing up valid points. I'm just, dang. But what is one crossover that you would love to see with Pokemon? What other thing would you love Pokemon to kind of cross over with?
Okay. I feel like we've had like almost everything. The only other thing that I'm like super crazy about in general, like big fandom and whatnot, is like Sonic the Hedgehog.
Okay.
So I guess that I don't know how the hell they would do that or what they would do, but I mean, yeah, I guess that, and that'll never happen. But
I mean, that would be cool. But I agree with you. It'd be kind of hard to see how that would kind of blend over, right? But that's not our job. We just want to see it. Y'all figure it out, right?
The rumor is that Sega and Capcom are gonna have a fighting game.
Ooh.
Like Sega versus Capcom kind of fighting game. Fingers crossed.
That would be cool. That would be
to
interesting.
Take Knuckles in to beat the shit out of Mega Man.
That would have to be another episode of like Mega Man and things like that. I love Mega Man.
Yeah.
Mega Man was Battle Network. But well, that kind of concludes it. From it, I appreciate you coming on in. I appreciate you joining with me today. For those who are watching this and get to this point, again, thank y'all for being here. Thank you for supporting the channel and watching this video. This again is all for fun. I'm enjoying doing it. I'm enjoying having these conversations with good friends of mine, one after another, and being able to put out the stuff for y'all, and I hope y'all enjoy it. And if you have things that you're looking for or to also look into or want me to kind of find guests for, please leave it down in the comments. Let me know. Leave a like, leave that subscription, all the fun stuff. And then obviously ST00BEN, we're going to have every one of his links in the description as well, from his YouTube channel to his Twitch to Twitter to whatever he has. We're going to have it all down in the links for them. So please make sure you go show him some love, because he is an amazing dude. And, going kind of touching that small base of the imposter syndrome for him. I've been inspired by a lot of things from what I've watched ST00BEN over the last couple of years, being in it. It's been really awesome to be a part of his community and be able to see the growth and be inspired to continue to do this stuff my way, but keep doing it still. So it's been a great honor. ST00BEN, you got any parting words for our guest?
No, man, thanks for having me. I appreciate getting the chance to spitball here and just kind of say whatever came to mind from whatever you asked. I had a good time. I'm a little sleepy because it's about 1 a.m. on the time change day. So people are like, this guy doesn't seem very energetic. I promise you, if you watch me on Twitch, I am a lot more rambunctious and wild and goofy and crazy. So keep that in mind. But yeah, if you want variety content with a little bit of TCG stuff, of course, Twitch is the place for that. If you want just TCG content, you're best off to follow me over on YouTube. Subscribe there. I've been diversifying a little bit. We got some Digimon, I got some Arcana, I got some Dragon Ball. So I like card games. They're like it's like my autism is card games, I guess. If you've seen those like T-shirts where it's like my autism is this, it's minus card games. If I could show you the floor right here, right now, I got 2 backpacks, a shit ton of deck boxes. Over here, there's some binders, some deck boxes. If I move over a little bit, there's a big bulk box full of Arcana with 2 massive binders on it. There's a giant stack of binders of Pokemon underneath the laptop chilling there. The entire corner surrounding the dining area is nothing but cards and boxes and cards all over a desk that's over there too. So yeah. And to the entertainment center, I've taken over like the Nintendo Wii is and the GameCube and the Xbox 360. They're covered in cards right now. So,
and that I think that will probably be an episode to go deeper. Yeah, that too.
no, those consoles aren't plugged in right now. So.
Oh. Well, that will actually be an episode at some point too. Is more trading card because obviously I'm into Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, and many more as well on that. So we're definitely gonna be happy to go down those routes as well. But until next time, y'all. Until the next episode. I hope y'all have a wonderful time. Live life to the fullest, and thank y'all for everything. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Sure.